In a cold and desperate world, Sam Walden struggles to survive while on a one-woman mission to save the Earth from a demise of man's own doing. The scene opens with Sam walking through an abandoned factory. Drops of rain pour in through the cracks of the old building as if there was no roof at all. As Sam makes her way down the dark and wet hallway, she looks intently towards her destination while the pipes hiss overhead. She reaches a boiler chamber and disassembles a valve. Sam places the piece into her bag that is on the ground. To her curiosity, Sam notices groups of insects spawn in a puddle of rain on the floor next to her bag. She begins an audio log, documenting the dangerous buildup of toxins in the atmosphere indicated by these spawns. As she leaves the factory, Sam runs out of oxygen and barrels to her ATV to refill. Gasping for breath, she begins to relax once more. The world in which she lives is dark and cold. The buildings around her are in shambles. Plant life takes the place of what were once mighty skyscrapers. Sam makes her way back home. Her house rests on a ridge high in the mountains, free of the toxic air. There, Sam proceeds to conduct experiments on bumblebees that she takes from the colonies she takes care of. She also writes electronic letters to her lover, Alon, who is off-world on the planet Io. Alon, along with the other survivors, has set out on a voyage to this new planet in hopes to rebuild humanity. With his confidence in the resources Io provides, Alon beseeches Sam to be on the next Exodus shuttle and off the dying world. Sam is reluctant. She is determined to keep doing research on Earth. However, the love she has for Alon weighs heavily upon her heart, conflicting. She listens to the tape recordings her estranged father left behind. He describes the conditions of the Earth as they worsen. In spite of the conditions, Dr. Walden remains confident that humans will adapt and flourish on Earth once again. Later that evening, soft classical piano fills up the walls of Sam's observatory. She maneuvers a Hubble-sized telescope. Through the lens, she sees Io, a moon planet that orbits the gas giant, Jupiter. The darkness fades and the sun rises. Sam is watching television when she gets a notification from Alon. He is excited to announce that there is a new expedition set in place to find a new planet to inhabit. Sam is distressed as she reads on. The computer begins to black out as Alon explains the grave implications that will come with this new mission. Sam is frustrated and anxious. Sam makes her way back to the wasteland that was once a beautiful city. In hopes to find another computer, Sam combs through a deserted library. Her ventilated breathing echoes throughout the building. She makes her way into a sunlit room with rows of wooden tables. Sam turns to find a desktop monitor still plugged in. She begins ripping the wires out in hopes to bring the monitor back home with her. Lightning flashes through the windows, illuminating the room. Sam looks out as her breathing increases, stirring up anxiety within her. Off in the distance, a monstrous storm approaches. Sam hurries home, driving her ATV through the thunderous fog. To her dismay, the toxic clouds engulf Sam's greenhouse, taking her research with her. She hurries in, seals off the doorway with duct tape, and opens up her reserve oxygen. Alon's voice is heard, explaining the need for Sam and her father to leave on the next shuttle. He goes on to explain that all of the resources are being put to use in the new mission, and doing so means the next shuttle to leave Earth will be the last. Sam dreams of the beach, the quiet blue waves kissing the shore, a salty breeze running across her skin. She wakes, gasping as she realizes her mask was knocked off in her slumber. The air was clean, for the storm had passed. Sam runs to tend her bee colonies, only to find they were all destroyed. She breaks. Sam screams in absolute rage as her cry carries through the ridge. She continues in her attempts to salvage what is left of her research. But her attempts were for nothing. Sam is crushed as she writes to Alon, telling him of the horror that took place. In the midst of her disheartened state, she goes on to explain that she and her father would lack the amount of oxygen needed to get to the launch site. Walking through the wreckage, Sam turns to find an escape pod attached to a giant balloon descending through the thick clouds. Upon landing, a man named Micah bursts out of the pod and addresses the reason he has come. Micah received a transmission from Sam's father and has come to see him. Micah refuses to talk to Sam and insists on only speaking to Dr. Walden. Micah questions Sam about the whereabouts of her father. He decides to wait until Dr. Walden returns, refusing to share any information with his daughter. Sam makes Micah some food and begins asking him questions about his travels. Micah's frustration slowly builds as he insists on seeing Dr. Walden. Later that night, Micah discovers that the transmission he heard was one of the recordings that Sam was playing. His demeanor is full of quiet anger as he tries to narrow down how long Dr. Walden has actually been gone. The two formally introduce each other for the first time since Micah's arrival. Sam leaves him to attend to a sensor notification. Micah goes to bed. The following morning, the weather is cold and overcast. Micah makes himself useful by rebuilding one of Sam's windmills. The two begin to talk and learn more about one another. Sam learns that Micah was going to be a teacher as he shares a philosophical theory about human nature. Sam shares her discoveries and tells Micah about her and Dr. Walden's discoveries. The two watch an old tape of Dr. Walden discussing his theories and insight. Sam can't bear seeing her father, and she attempts to turn the video off abruptly. Micah stops her. Sam finds that she has not received any new messages from Alon. She begins to doubt that staying on Earth is a good idea. Micah looks through Dr. Walden's old room. He carefully observes a framed photograph as Sam walks in. Micah reveals that he knew of Sam's mother and continues to put the fault of her death on Dr. Walden. Sam is defensive as Micah rushes out of the room to burst into Dr. Walden's study. She stares from the hallway as Micah searches for evidence. A vision of Sam's father occurs, and she comes to terms with the possibility of him actually being dead. Later, Micah apologizes for the outburst. He continues to tell Sam that he is going to take her to Iota. Micah's surprise, she agrees. Time goes by as they wait for the right wind conditions. Waiting. As she comes to terms with her decision, Sam writes to Alon. She is hurt and broken. She endured for so long, fighting to keep her father's research, only to give up in the end. The two diligently collect the remaining honey and beeswax from the destroyed colonies. As Micah takes a second trip outside, he discovers something in one of the colony boxes. He exclaims and runs back inside to get Sam to see what he found. The queen bee has survived. Micah's excitement is vaporized when Sam reveals that the finding means nothing to their cause. A notification chimes in the house. To Sam's joy, Alon has responded. As she reads, Sam's heart is shattered. Alon has decided to join the first expedition shuttle. This expedition means that Sam and Alon won't be together for many, many years. Sam sobs at her desk. Micah has grown fond of Sam and shows her his compassion. He offers to make squash spaghetti in the hope to comfort her. The duo talks about what things were like before. Micah sits, reading at the dinner table. Sam walks by and glances at him. She begins to take a shower, and Micah grows aware. He tries to keep his eyes on his book, but he is unsettled and tempted. She walks out wearing only a towel, and the two exchange looks as Micah darts his eyes down to his book. Micah storms in, yelling in frustration. The wind is refusing to change in the direction they need to go. Sam quietly gets up from her bed and approaches Micah. She gets close and touches him gently. She walks to the other side of the room and puts the classical piano tape in. The atmosphere is set. Micah reminisces upon hearing the music as Sam slowly walks toward him. She gets closer and kisses Micah. He tries to stop her, but his efforts are thwarted. Later, Micah and Sam gaze up through the telescope and reminisce about the things of old once more. Sam writes back to Alon, confessing that her father has been dead the whole time and that it was her choice to stay on Earth. Micah awakens to the sound of an alert from his pod. The shuttle that they are waiting to travel to is unable to launch. The notification gives new coordinates for a new shuttle. Micah comes in. They do not have enough helium to go to the new coordinates. He angrily smashes a mason jar with his fist. He cuts his hand open. Sam suggests that they go to the contaminated zone. There, they can find more helium. But the location they have to travel to is further than Sam has ever gone. Micah attempts to shut the idea down, but Sam convinces him that they have no other choice. Sam sends out a transmission to any other survivors. She implores them that in light of Dr. Walden's death, they have no reason to stay. Micah and Sam map out the location of the helium. They take both bikes, towing the escape pod behind them to the zone. They make their way through the treacherous ruins. When they find the helium stash, Micah is ecstatic. Sam, however, is distant in thought. Micah urges her to help him collect the helium. They rest for the night, turning their oxygen down 50% to conserve it. The next morning, the couple fills the balloon with the helium they gathered. Sam chooses to ride off abruptly. Micah is adamant they leave soon as she speeds away. Micah becomes impatient as the helium finishes filling the balloon. Sam walks through a museum. She always wanted to see one for herself. Now, as the last woman on Earth, she is seeing it for the first and last time. Micah is behind her and reminds Sam in a gentle fashion that they need to leave. Sam refuses. She tells Micah to go on without her. He does not react to what she says and gives her a new tank of oxygen. Believing that she can still survive on Earth, Sam makes a radical decision and takes off her mask. Rushing to stop her, Micah embraces Sam, rubbing the back of her neck. The two hold each other until everything goes black. Years later, Micah is on the balloon craft by himself. The clouds are thick and the sun is vibrant. He sails away, looking through the same window that he has always looked through. Sam writes a message to Micah. She is still alive on Earth. She stands by the ocean as the sky begins to clear. A child runs along beside her. Micah's son. They both stand on the beach, watching, waiting for Micah to return to them.